Every spring and every fall, millions of people reach for the same little pill, the one that quiets the sneezing and lets them get on with the day. And by 2 in the afternoon, that same pill has left them heavy-eyed and slumped, half dozing at their own kitchen table. That thick, foggy feeling isn't the allergies talking, it's the medicine, and most folks made their peace with the trade long ago. Those old standby tablets work by quieting one signal down inside you, and they dim your own sharpness right along with it. That's no flaw the makers can simply design away. It's baked into the very way the pill does its drowsy work. But here's the part hardly anybody ever gets told, and you won't find it waiting for you in the pill aisle. There are plants, some sitting in your spice rack this very minute, some growing wild along the fence line out back, ignored. Researchers have tested them head-on against these exact symptoms: the runny nose, the streaming eyes, the sneezing that just won't quit. Not folk rumor, not garden hearsay. Real studies, run in real clinics, written up and printed in the medical record. Here's what turned my head. One of these was put to a real test. 241 people, all carrying year-round allergies, taking it every day for 2 full months. Their sneezing settled, their stuffy nose settled, and the air moving through their noses, measured with a proper instrument, not guessed at, opened up clearer than it did for the folks on the dummy pill. 2 months, hundreds of people, written up and printed for any doctor to read. That's not garden folklore. That's the real thing, and not a bit of that drowsy fog to go with it. 14 remedies today, each one studied in some careful way for settling the body's overreaction to pollen, to dust, to the cat asleep on the good chair. Some you'd steep into a tea, some you'd stir right into supper, some you'd scatter over your toast, every last one already growing close to home. None of this stands in for your doctor or for the medicine you were given. You talk it over with your own physician before you change a single thing. I've read every one of these studies myself, slow and careful, and I'll put the proof right up on the screen. So you never just take my word for it, but stay with me for number 4 especially, a knobbly little root, likely in your kitchen right now, that matched a pharmacy allergy pill and left folks clearer, not foggier. And the very first one we'll get to is a plant you've been swatting, cursing, and yanking up by the fistful for years, never once guessing what you had. We start with the one that fights back, nettle, the plant that stings your ankles when you walk the fence line in shorts, and that near everyone yanks up by the fistful and throws on the pile. You'll know it by the leaf, jagged little teeth all around the edge, and a fine coat of hairs on the underside that's the source of all the trouble. Brush it bare-handed, and those hairs work like 100 tiny needles. It's the plant defending itself. Can't blame it, really. For a long, long time, before anyone had a name for hay fever, people dried this weed, steeped it, and drank it down when their eyes ran and their nose wouldn't settle. Ordinary country medicine, passed hand to hand across whole centuries. And the reason a remedy survives that long is usually simple. It did something. Now the modern work is early, and it's honest, so I'll be honest right back with you. In one controlled trial, folks with allergic rhinitis who took a nettle preparation saw their symptom scores come down. But the dummy treatment helped some too, which tells you plain that this is no magic wand. It's a gentle helper, not a cure. I'd never call it one. What the researchers think is going on is that something in the leaf takes a little of the edge off the body's overreaction, settles the swelling and the itch a notch, like easing your foot off the gas instead of stamping on the brake. Softer, slower, and the sting scares people clean off, and it needn't. Drying takes the sting right out of the leaf. So does a single minute in hot water. Cooked or dried, it's tame as spinach. I steep a good spoonful of the dried leaf, lid on the cup to hold the goodness in it, 10 minutes, then drink it warm. That's the whole recipe. Young spring leaves are best before the plant goes to seed. One caution, though. Nettle can act like a mild water pill, moving more fluid through you, and it may nudge your blood pressure or your blood sugar. So if you're on medicine for either of those, this is a check with the doctor first plant. No shortcuts. Funny thing to sit with. The plant that stings your hand may also be the one that settles your season. A blessing wearing thorns. The Lord does seem to hide his better gifts behind a little trouble. This next one isn't a plant at all, and I'll be straight with you about that. It's honey. Local honey, mind. the raw stuff from hives near your own home, not the clear syrup in the squeeze bear at the big store. There's an old notion behind it. The same pollen that torments you in spring, carried home by the bees and folded into the comb, taken a little at a time, till your body learns to stop treating it like a burglar. Now, whether it truly holds up, the research is still early, but some of it says it just might. In one controlled study, folks started on a pollen-rich honey before their season even began. And when the pollen came, they had far more days with no symptoms at all and reached for their allergy pills a good deal less than the folks going without. More easy days, fewer pills, and there's more. In another trial, people took a daily dose of honey right alongside their usual allergy medicine. The honey group settled down further than the ones on the medicine alone. And here's the part I like. They kept feeling better even after they set the antihistamine aside. A companion to your medicine, not a replacement for it. That's the honest way to hold it. But I promised you honesty on every one of these, and honey earns a caution of its own. The studies don't all agree. One good trial found no real benefit at all. And in another, the plain honey helped near as much as the pollen kind, which muddies that tidy story about local pollen some. So I'll not oversell it. A gentle helper for some folks, not a cure. What might be going on, if anything is a slow and patient teaching. Little traces of pollen, met a bit at a time in something sweet and harmless, coaxing the body to treat that pollen as an old friend instead of a threat. Might. That one word's doing real work in that sentence. If you'd like to try it, here's how. Local, raw, unfiltered honey. The cloudier the better. From as near your own ground as you can find. A spoonful a day, started a good 2 months before your season, because this one asks for patience. One real caution. Honey is sugar, plain and simple. So if you're watching your blood sugar or living with diabetes, that's a talk for your own doctor first. And never a baby under a year. Never. I keep a jar from a fellow down the road with his hives out in the clover, and there's a quiet wonder in it, that the same little creatures working the same blossoms that trouble your nose might carry home the very thing that gentles it. The Maker does love to tuck a mercy in plain sight. Perilla. Some of you will know it as shiso, that ruffled, frilly leaf, one side deep green and the other a rich purple red. It's in the mint family, and it'll grow like a happy little weed in a pot on the porch step with hardly any fuss from you at all. Across a good part of Asia, it's been an everyday kitchen herb and a folk allergy remedy both at once, longer than anyone can rightly say. In a study of people carrying seasonal allergies, an extract of Perilla, one made rich in a calming compound called rosmarinic acid, brought down the itchy nose and the watering, itching eyes. And these weren't just folks saying they felt better. The researchers measured fewer of the fired-up cells inside the nose. Real changes, written down. Not a huge crowd of people, mind, a smaller study, but a clean one, and the kind that points the way for the bigger ones behind it. Rosmarinic acid. I want you to hold on to that name, because it comes back around later in this very video, in a plant you've likely got growing by your kitchen door and would never once suspect. What that compound seems to do is talk the body's overreaction gently down off the ledge. When pollen lands, the body panics and throws everything it's got at a harmless speck of dust. This helps it keep its head, keep some proportion. And the beauty of Perilla is you can just eat it. No brewing, no fuss. Tuck the fresh leaves into a salad, wrap them around a bite of rice, chop them fine over your supper. Or dry a good handful and steep them like a tea when your eyes start to itch. Green leaves or purple, it hardly matters. Both carry the goodness. And here's a small bonus folded in. Perilla also holds luteolin, another of those calming compounds we'll meet again before we're through. Two good things in the one humble leaf. The way the good Lord tucks something so soothing inside a leaf pretty enough for the dinner table? Well, I never do get tired of that. Beauty and use, in the same plant. That's the design of the thing. This is number 4. The one I promised you back at the start. Ginger. The plain, knobbly, unglamorous root sitting in the bottom of nearly every kitchen drawer in the country. Here's what the researchers did. They took people with allergic rhinitis and gave one group ginger extract, 500 milligrams a day, and the other group loratadine, And loratadine is the pharmacy tablet a great many of you already keep in the cupboard for exactly this. Then they watched both groups for 6 weeks. 6 weeks is long enough to trust what you're seeing. Not a quick peek, but a real stretch of living with it. Allergies and all. And both eased the sneezing and the stuffiness and the runny nose about the same. Even, near enough, all the way down the line, the plant kept pace with the pill, step for step. But here's the line I circled twice with my pencil. The ginger group reported less drowsiness, less fatigue, less of that dizzy, dragging, underwater feeling. Same relief from the misery, and a clearer head to carry through the rest of your day. That's the whole promise of this video, sitting right there in one honest little root. Ginger seems to gentle down the body's inflammatory temper, the heat and the swelling and the gush behind a running nose, without ever dimming your lights the way the strong old antihistamines can. And I take mine, about as simple as it gets. A few thin coins of the fresh root dropped in a mug, hot water poured over, and I let it sit a full 10 minutes so it goes good and strong. A spoon of honey, a squeeze of lemon, warms you right through to the middle. I'll grate it fine some mornings instead of slicing it, for a stronger cup, and I keep a knob of it in the freezer so I've always got it on hand. Grate's even easier frozen, funny enough. One caution, small but real. Ginger can thin the blood just a touch, so if you're already taking a blood thinner, run it past your doctor before you make it a daily habit. A small step, always worth taking. Turmeric, ginger's golden cousin, and they do favor one another. Same knobbly build under the skin. But this one's a deep, burning orange inside, and it'll stain your fingers, your cutting board, and your good apron if you're not minding it. It's been ground into food and medicine both for thousands of years across India and beyond. One of the oldest healing spices we've got a record of at all. This one's got a good-sized study standing behind it, and I like a good-sized study. 241 people, all carrying year-round allergies, taking curcumin, that's the golden part of turmeric, the part that does the work, every day for 2 full months. Their sneezing eased, their runny nose eased, and here's the piece I find downright handsome. The air moved better through their noses, measured, mind you, with a proper instrument, less blocked, more open, easier breathing, day and night, and breathing better through your nose changes more than you'd think. It changes how you sleep, and a body that sleeps is a body that heals its own way. One good thing pulls the next along behind it. Think of that golden compound as a steady, patient hand laid on the swelling that shuts a nose down tight. It doesn't force the passage open. It coaxes the anger out of the tissue, and the swelling settles on its own. Now here's the practical trouble with turmeric, and it's worth knowing because most folks waste it. Your body has a hard time grabbing hold of that golden compound on its own. It slips right past. But 2 things fix that: a good crack of black pepper and a little fat. So I stir it into warm milk with the pepper and drink it down. Golden milk, the old folks called it. That pepper's the whole trick. Same caution as its cousin ginger. Turmeric can thin the blood, so mind that if you're on a thinner. And it's not for anyone with gallstone trouble. If either of those is you, ask your doctor first, plain and simple. Now we come down to earth, to the humble onion, and her smaller, sweeter, gentler sister, the shallot, both of them fairly bursting with a compound I want you to remember, called quercetin. Quercetin is the one to know for allergies, and here's the plain picture of why. Inside your body, you've got tiny alarm boxes. The doctors call them mast cells, but alarm boxes is truer to what they do. The instant they meet a bit of pollen, they burst open and dump out the sneeze and itch signal all at once. That flood is your allergy. Quercetin seems to lay a calming hand on those boxes so they don't pop open quite so easy or spill quite so much. It doesn't lock the boxes shut. Nothing safe does that. It just makes them a touch slower on the trigger. And a touch slower is often all the difference between a rough day and a fine one. It's well studied in the laboratory for exactly that steadying work. And in a trial on shallot, folks with allergic rhinitis got some real, measured relief from their symptoms. Now, the richest source you can eat is the plain red onion. And here's a thing most people never learn. Most of that goodness sits right up near the papery outer skin and the flesh just beneath it. So the part we're quickest to throw away is the best part. So eat them closer to raw when you're able. A little sliced red onion on top of the salad, folded through the slaw. In the sandwich, cooking's fine and I do plenty of it. Just don't boil the last bit of good clean out of everyone. Make you cry at the cutting board, sure they will. But there's a real kindness folded up inside that sting, if you'll sit with it long enough to find it. There usually is, with the plain and homely things. I keep a bowl of onions on the counter year-round, and I reckon that habit's done me more quiet good over the years than half the bottles in a pharmacy. Cheap, too. Kind on the purse and the nose both. And a shallot, if you can get them, is just an onion with better manners, milder on the tongue, easy to eat raw, and carrying that same good quercetin right along with it. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. My grandmother used to say it, or was it my great-aunt Ruth? One of them, anyhow, apron on, at the kitchen table. Well, it turns out there was more wisdom folded into that old rhyme than either of them ever knew. The old sayings usually earn their keep, I've found. They're just tested truth, worn smooth by a few hundred years of handling. Apples are loaded with that very same quercetin we just met inside the onion, the same calming hand on the same little alarm boxes. And in a study, apple polyphenols, that's the good stuff, and it lives mostly in the skin, and just under it, ease the symptoms of stubborn, year-round allergic rhinitis in real people. It's the same idea as the onion, dressed up sweeter. A steadying hand on the body's overreaction so it stops flying off the handle at every stray drift of pollen and dust. And unlike a good many things on this list, there's not a soul who needs talking into eating an apple. It's the easiest medicine in the world to take. You were going to eat it anyway. And a firm, tart variety holds the most of the good stuff. The softer, sweeter ones give a bit of it up. So pick a crisp one that fights back when you bite it. And there's just the one rule to remember. So listen close. Eat the skin. That's where nearly all of it lives. So no peeling your goodness off into the compost bucket. You'd be throwing out the medicine and keeping the pulp. Cheap as anything. In every market and every season. Keeps for weeks in a cold pantry without a bit of tending. Simple. That's the word for the apple. Simple and quietly generous. A tart, firm one, skin and all. Mid-afternoon when the itching starts up. That's a small habit worth the keeping. And it costs you next to nothing. Green tea, older than most any medicine we've got a name for, and studied a good deal harder than most folks would ever guess. There's a particular green tea, a variety called benefuki, that carries an unusual, souped-up form of one of tea's own calming compounds. And in a controlled trial, the people who drank that special tea right through their allergy time had less runny nose, less itchy eyes, and less watering than the folks drinking an ordinary green tea alongside them. Same daily habit, different leaf. Real difference. 51 people in that one, split between the special tea and a plain one, drinking it right on through the worst of the pollen. And the special tea folks simply had an easier time of it. The way it seems to work is a little different from some of the others, and I like it. Instead of calming the alarm boxes after they've gone off, this compound seems to keep them from firing in the first place. Heads the whole thing off at the pass, before the flood even starts. Now that particular benefuki variety is the strong one, and you can track it down if you go looking. It's out there. But here's the good news for the rest of us. Everyday green tea, the plain kind off any shelf, carries close cousins of that same compound. So a daily cup or two is never a waste. One small trick for brewing it right. Use hot water, but not a hard rolling boil, that scorches the delicate leaf and turns the whole cup bitter and flat. Just off the boil is perfect. Let it steep a couple of minutes, no longer, and you'll have it. I take my morning cup out on the back step most days, while the fog's still sitting low and heavy in the yard and the birds are only just starting up. A quiet grace, that is. A small daily gift you don't have to earn. 3 or 4 cups across a day is a fair, gentle amount. No need to drown in it. And go easy on it near bedtime, since the same leaf carries a bit of the wake-up in it, too. These little black seeds go by black cumin, or nigella, or a dozen older names besides. Folks all across the old world have reached for them for near everything under the sun, and for a very, very long time. You'll find them named in some of the oldest writings there are, prized as a household remedy. When something's kept its place at the table for that many centuries, it's usually earned it honestly. And the allergy work behind them is genuinely good, better than you'd expect from something so small. In one trial, 66 people with allergic rhinitis used black seed oil, and their stuffy nose, their itching, their runny nose, their sneezing attacks all came down. And quick too, real relief inside the first couple of weeks. And that wasn't a one-off. A separate look across several allergy studies backed the same thing up. The seed oil helped how people felt overall, and it did it gently, without harsh trouble. It seems to reach in and turn the whole volume down on the body's overreaction, all at once. It's got a warm, peppery, faintly bitter bite, somewhere between pepper and oregano. I like to scatter the whole seeds over a flatbread before it bakes, or stir a few drops of the oil into a spoon of honey and take it that way. The caution here is one to take seriously. Black seed can lower your blood sugar, and it can lower your blood pressure. Both good things for some folks, but if you're already taking medicine for either one, the two together can push you too far. So this is a doctor conversation, not a guess you make on your own. Small as a poppy seed, every one of them. And still, tucked away inside something you could lose in the creases of your palm, is all of this. I find that a genuine wonder. The maker does seem to favor the little things. I keep a small jar of the seeds and a little bottle of the oil, both, right there in the spice cupboard next to the salt. Handy. Ready. That's how a remedy actually gets used, when it's within arm's reach, not up on some high shelf. Spirulina. Now this one's not a garden plant at all, and I'll be straight about that. It's a blue-green thing that grows in water. One of the oldest living things there is. Older by far than any forest. But it has more than earned its seat at this table. It's not much to look at. A dull blue-green powder, and I'll not pretend otherwise, but it's about as concentrated a green food as there is on the whole earth. In a study of 150 people carrying allergic rhinitis, taking spirulina every day brought down the runny nose, the sneezing, the itching, and the congestion, and clearly better than the dummy powder the other group was taking. 150 is a good, solid number. That's not a fluke. What it seems to do is steady the immune system's whole temper, to keep it from crying wolf and calling out the whole guard every single time a harmless little bit of pollen wanders past the window. It teaches it to hold its fire, in a manner of speaking. The easiest way to get it into you is a good spoon of the powder stirred into a smoothie, where its strong, weedy, green pond taste can hide itself away behind the banana and the berries. Trust me on the fruit. It needs the cover. Two real cautions, though, and both matter. First, buy it only from a clean, tested source, because it soaks up whatever water it grew in. The bad along with the good. And second, if you've got an autoimmune condition, you check with your doctor before you touch it. This one wakes the immune system up and gets it working, and for some folks that's exactly the wrong direction. Start with a small spoon too, not a heaping one. Give your stomach a few days to make friends with it before you work your way up. Slow and steady wins this particular race. I stir mine into a strong flavored smoothie of a morning and don't think about it again all day. Once it's a habit, it tends itself, and habits are what actually move the needle, not the odd heroic effort. Rosemary, that tough, piney little shrub by the kitchen door that'll outlive the both of us if you just leave it be and don't fuss over it. And here's where that name I told you to hold on to finally comes back around. Rosmarinic acid. Remember it from the Perilla leaf all those minutes ago. Well, rosemary is fairly full of the very same compound, and that's no coincidence at all. That's exactly how the compound got its name in the first place. It was found in rosemary, and that same calming compound has been studied in people for easing seasonal allergy misery. Now, I'll keep myself honest with you, the way I always try to. Most of that careful human research is done on the concentrated compound, not on a plain cup of rosemary tea off your windowsill. So I'd have you think of rosemary as a good, everyday, homely way to carry a little of that goodness through your week, not as a pharmacy tucked in a pot. It's a helper, a gentle one. That's the honest shape of most of these plants, if I'm truthful. Not a cure, not a miracle, just a small, steady good you fold into an ordinary day and keep folding in. A short steep of a fresh sprig makes a bracing, woodsy sort of tea. Don't leave it too long or it turns sharp. And the steam that rises off a pot of rosemary simmering on the stove, breathed in, slow and deep, feels awfully kind to a stuffed-up, heavy head. I run my hand right along the top of mine every single time I walk past it, and I've done it for years. That smell alone can lift a heavy morning clean off your shoulders. God's own smelling salts, I've always called that plant. Free and right by the door. And it dries beautifully. I hang little bundles of it upside down in the pantry, and they hold their scent and their strength clean through to the next harvest. Costs nothing, lasts all year, and a sprig dropped into a jar of good oil, left to sit a couple of weeks, gives you a rosemary oil for your cooking that carries a little of that same goodness into every meal. Waste nothing. That's the old way, and it's still the good way. Peppermint. Plant it just the once and you'll have it forever. I promise you that. It runs along underground like it's late for something, and it'll take over a whole bed if you let it. So many folks grow it in a buried pot just to keep it in line. It's one of the few things on this whole list you truly cannot kill, which makes it just about the perfect plant for a beginner. Start here, if you're starting anywhere. Now here I've got to be more careful than usual, and I will be. In laboratory work, a flavonoid drawn out of the peppermint leaf quieted the release of that sneeze and itch signal and eased the sneezing and the nose rubbing in animal studies. But those are the early days of a plant's story. That's bench work and animal work, not a proper trial in people yet, so I'll not oversell it to you. I never will. But there's a second gift in peppermint you can feel for yourself the very minute you use it. No waiting on the science for this one. The menthol. Breathe the steam up off a strong peppermint tea, and a blocked, stuffed nose starts to feel like it's coming open. Plain and simple as throwing open a window in a close, stuffy room. So that's just how I use it when I'm all clogged up. I brew a good strong cup, drape a towel right over my head to trap the steam, close my eyes, and breathe it in slow for a few minutes. Clears the fog that sits behind the eyes when your whole head's gone thick. Mind the water's good and hot, but not scalding when you lean in over it. You want the steam kind on your face, not punishing. Close your eyes, breathe slow, and give it a few honest minutes. I'll do it of an evening when my head's all stopped up, and I sleep the better for it after. There's real comfort in the plain ritual of it, quite apart from the science. Cheap, tough, and generous near to a fault. That's peppermint top to bottom. Give it a corner, and it'll give you back far more than its share. Thyme. That low, wiry, unassuming little herb you toss a few sprigs of into the soup pot and then never once think about again. Well, give it a second thought today. We've cooked with it so long we've plumb forgotten it was ever counted as medicine at all. But it surely was, once, and by folks who knew their plants far better than most of us do now. Thyme carries a compound called luteolin, and that's one more of those settle the signal compounds, from the very same family the researchers have been studying for calming down the swollen, dripping, runny mess of an allergic nose. It shows up in a whole handful of good kitchen plants, and thyme's a fine, plain source of it. And I'll give you the same honesty I gave you on the rosemary and the mint, because you deserve nothing less. That work is mostly done on the isolated compound, not on your grandmother's thyme tea. But thyme remains a good, plain, everyday way to keep a little of that goodness moving across your table and through your week. It's long been a breathing herb too, mind you. Folks have leaned on it for a tight chest for centuries. A thyme steam or a warm cup of thyme tea with a good spoon of honey feels loosening and kind on a chest gone gummy and tight from all the allergy drainage. I keep a good clump of it planted right at the front edge of the bed, where I can't help but brush past it coming and going. A steady, humble little thing. Asks for nothing at all. Gives all season long. There's a lesson in that plant, if you slow down enough to take it. I'll toss a fresh sprig or two into near everything I simmer. Soups, beans, a roasting pan, and never think of it as anything but supper. That's the easiest medicine there is, the kind you'd have eaten regardless. Fresh or dried, it holds up fine either way, though I do think the fresh sprigs give a sweeter, greener steam if you've got them growing. Either one earns its place in the pot. And we finish gentle, the way I like to. Chamomile. Those little white and yellow daisies that look for all the world like they wandered straight in off the page of a storybook. Folks have leaned on chamomile tea for generation after generation to soothe an irritation, a warm, calming cup taken slow of an evening, and a cooled, steeped compress laid gentle over hot, itchy, streaming eyes. Traditional comfort, that is, old comfort, and a real kindness on a rough allergy day. There's something in the plain ritual of it, too. The kettle, the waiting, the warm cup in two cold hands of an evening. The body settles when the day finally slows down enough to let it. But this very last plant comes with a warning that I will not skip past, no matter how pretty it is. Chamomile is in the daisy family, which means it's close kin to ragweed itself. And for some folks whose allergies run to ragweed, that whole family can set off the very reaction you were trying so hard to calm. It can turn on you. So here's my nurse's rule for this one, and I'd have you follow it. Go slow. Try just a little the first time, and wait, and watch how you do. And never, ever put it near your eyes if you've reacted to daisies or ragweed before. When there's any doubt at all in your mind, that's your own doctor's call to make, not mine, and surely not the internet's. A tender little plant with a real caution laid right on top of it, rather like a great many of the good things in this life, when you think on it, worth the having, and worth the respecting too. So keep it for the calm end of the day, if it agrees with you, and leave the daytime work to the surer plants we walked through earlier. Every plant to its proper hour. And that's rather the whole heart of this when you get down to it, the right plant, taken the right way, at the right time of day. Not a cabinet full of everything. Just a few good, trusted things, used with a little sense. Now that's the 14. 14 plants studied, in one careful way or another, for helping the body carry its allergies without stealing the whole afternoon out from under you in a drowsy fog. Nettle and butterbur, perilla, ginger, and turmeric. The onion, the apple, the green tea, black cumin and spirulina, rosemary, peppermint, thyme, and the gentle chamomile to send us off. And I'll say it one final time, exactly the way I promised you at the very start. Not one of these replaces your doctor. Not one of them replaces the medicine you were given by someone who knows your own body and your own history. These are helpers, things to talk over with that person, not things to swap in behind their back. So bring this whole list to that next appointment. Let it start a good conversation. Don't ever let it stand in for one. If any bit of this was worth your while today, do an old nurse one small kindness and subscribe, so the next one finds its way to your door. And there's always a next one coming. The garden sees to that. There's always another plant to walk you through, another study worth the reading, another honest thing growing quietly out back that most folks walk right past. And here's my question for you down in the comments, and I mean a real one, not a tidy yes or no. For those of you who've steeped nettle or ginger for your own allergies, did you find more relief in the morning or come the evening? And how many days in was it before the thing actually turned for you? I've got a hunch the timing matters near as much as the plant itself, and I would truly love to know what your own body went and taught you. Until next time, tend your own patch of this good green earth, be gentle with your own self, and may the Lord keep you and all your people in good health. God bless.